Hello everyone. I want to talk about making your own handmade stamps from the foam sheets. I like to use the thin foam sheets. These are really thin, but they work really nicely. They're really easy to use. I get this pack of 32 foam sheets. They are 4 by 6 inches, and it's less than $1 at Walmart for these. You can also get the foam sheets that are a little bit thicker that have the sticky back. I don't necessarily like these as much. The thick foam is harder to draw into and to make marks with, and harder to cut. It just makes my hand more tired. But it works exactly the same way as the thin ones do. So whatever you have, you can use. I have done quite a few of the stamps with foam, and I've been doing these for quite a long time. I used to make my foam shapes and put them on pieces of cardboard. I have found that after some time has passed, the cardboard tends to flatten out in places, not always in the same place. So it tends to distort your stamp after a while. I was using a piece of cardboard. I was gluing my shape to the cardboard, putting a little piece of tape so that I had something to hang on to stamp with. And it works fine, but it's not the best. Here's some little triangles that I did. And what I found was that when you ink it up, you have to press the entire stamp. If you are just impressing just part of the stamp, you're not going to get a perfect stamp. So what I have been doing instead of the cardboard, let me just clean that off a little bit, is I will either use a lid of some sort, and I like the lids. It gives me something to hang on to. I don't have to add tape to that. And it's very sturdy. The only thing is the bottoms of the lids, the lids are not completely flat. They kind of go in a little bit. So you have to make sure that you are getting ink to the center parts when you're inking the stamp up. So press in the center of it. And you also want to make sure that you're pressing the center of the stamp when you are trying to make your stamp, so that the center bit of that lid contacts the paper and makes a stamp. So I really do like the lids. I've been saving all kinds of lids and different sizes and things, and I do use the lids quite a bit, obviously. All I've done is made the shapes with the foam. You can't see it because it's all black and been used quite a few times. I just make the shapes with the foam, and I glue the shapes onto my lid with just any white glue. I have a Craft Bond here. Eileen's works nicely. Any of those kinds of things will work. Another thing that I like to use, let me get some of this stuff out of the way so I can see stuff, is pieces of flexible plastic. I do use these lids a lot, and I will cut the rims off of them so that they're flat, and then I will glue my images onto something like that. I also use, for a piece of plastic, I also use milk cartons or water cartons. I will cut the flat part off and use that for making my stamp. So this is that piece that I cut off the milk carton there, the water bottle, the water carton. And these are some little triangles with the adhesive tape on them to make it fast and easy. And all I do is glue or adhere the shapes. I cut out different kinds of shapes, circles and that kind of thing, and then I just glue them down. I usually wait overnight for my glue to dry because it moves around if you put any pressure on it while it's wet. So if you want your stamp to look a certain way, you want to make sure it's dry before you start using it. So that's all I would do, is cut my shapes out in different ways and then glue them, or use the sticky back in this case, to get them on your piece of plastic. I'm trying to get enough on here so that I can show you how it works. You can also draw into these pieces of foam. Any place that you indent will not touch the ink pad while you're inking it up. So you need to be very careful when you are cutting out your pieces, when you're gluing them down. If you indent it at all, if you mark it, you put your fingernail in there and it presses down just a little tiny bit, it will show up in your stamps. Sometimes it's not really a problem, but I just wanted you to know. Alright, so I will continue doing this after. I'm going to use all those little triangles up. But this is what this looks like. Get my piece of paper out here again. Just the pieces of foam. The pieces of foam, they really do pick up the ink really, really well, just like a rubber stamp. Make sure I've got it inked up well enough. And I do like to use a acrylic block to make sure that I am pressing evenly on the stamp, and you can see it makes a really good impression. So if I were to use a pen and just make some marks in here, that's all it takes, is just drawing your marks into the foam. And just keep in mind that you are making a mirror image. Every place that you make a mark, you're indenting the foam, and that is where the ink pad will not touch. So what you see as you're drawing is exactly opposite of what you're going to get on your stamp. So I have drawn into the foam there. Let me ink that up. And I'm going to put it right there. Just press it down. And you can see where I forgot that little triangle there. Where I put the ink pen, it made an impression, and that is what that stamp will look like now. So I do like the plastic, and I also use just a piece of cardstock. One thing that using a piece of plastic that's really flat, or a piece of cardstock, something like that, it saves space as well. I do put my little pieces of shapes on cardstock. I glue it on. I wait for it to dry. I will show you what this one looks like. I haven't even tested it yet. But what I like to use is the removable double-sided tape. Removable double-sided tape allows me to just take a piece of that tape, put it on the cardstock, put it on my block, and use the block like an ink pad. So let me ink this up. Let's see how this looks, this brand new stamp that I've got. And it saves space for storage, so I'm able to use the acrylic block, stamp it. I didn't ink it up real well. And then I can take that off the block, and I have baskets that I put my stamps in. So I can have 100 stamps in a little space like this and not worry about, all the pieces of cardboard and all the lids and everything else, and just use the acrylic block to press everything down. And then I can reuse this removable tape for something else. I've got another stamp here, and I could put that on that same piece of removable tape, and I keep using that tape until it doesn't want to stick anymore. I just use it and use it and use it. So here's another one. It's a square that I've drawn little squares into. And so that is that one. And I just can take that off the block. There's that tape on there, and I can continue on with other things. So that's all that I do. I cut shapes out. I glue the shapes together in different ways. I draw into the shapes with pens to make little marks and different things. This is a piece of plastic. I do put I use electrical tape, and sometimes that doesn't stick really well. So I will staple the ends to my cardboard or my whatever I've got it on, so that way it stays put and I can use it over and over and over again. And talking about the foam shapes, Dollar Tree has those packages of shapes, those fun, some of them are animals, there's travel ones, there's under the sea, there's farm animals, they're all kinds. And I do like them. They make wonderful stamps. So let me get my piece of paper out here again. And I will show you how cool that is. It works really well. And it's even got a little eye from where it was indented. And I didn't do that, it comes that way. So they are really, really cool little foam shapes. I didn't get that inked up real well, but that's the elephant. He's very cute. So I enjoy the foam shapes. I've got them all on little pieces of cardboard so I can find them. And I have paper punches that I also use. This is a frog paper punch that I have. I put the little thin piece of foam in there. Some of the paper punches aren't big enough. You can't get the foam into. This one happens to be big enough. I punched a piece of the foam out and then glued it on a piece of cardboard. So I have the mirror image too that I saved. So that's all there is to it. Cut some shapes out of your foam. Arrange them how you want to arrange them. Draw into them for a little bit more detail. Use a paper punch. Paper punch some holes in your squares. Arrange them in a design that you like. You can put them on cardboard, on pieces of plastic, on pieces of cardstock. They're very, very versatile. You can do just about anything that you want to do with the foam. They're a really, really inexpensive way to make your own unique, one-of-a-kind stamps, and I really enjoy using them. So that is it for foam, do-it-yourself, handmade, one-of-a-kind, only you have it kind of stamps. Thanks for watching.